Wait, what are you doing here? Business. Here is my ID. Take it.
Entering emergency phase. Attention all ARCS defenders. Mrs. Producer is about to host a TED Talk in Central Elio. We request the participation of all available ARCS defenders.
Hi. Okay. Calm down, people. Yahoo everyone, and welcome to part 1 of my screenshot guide series. In this video I'll be covering the main effects available in G-Shade and how to configure them and make your very own preset. Without any more waste of time, let's get into it. To get started, go in the game and open the G-Shade menu. This brings up the menu with all the shaders listed and the preset selection drop-down menu. To create a blank preset, click on the plus icon at the top right, enter a name in the empty box and press enter. Now let's add some effects. The first thing we'll be working on is background blur. For this you have 3 options: ADOF, Marty McFly, and Cinematic DOF. The easiest to use is ADOF. If you want to take a quick screenshot, it has an autofocus option. However, if you want more control, it's better to set it up yourself, so let's see how it's done. To save you some time navigating through the effect list, you can input the name in the search bar and toggle it. The first thing you want to do is make sure autofocus is untoggled. To adjust the limit between near and far objects, you can tweak these 2 sliders. It's best to keep near blur curve on the far right and far blur curve on the far left. This way you can adjust more precisely the distance starting from which the background gets blurred with the manual focus depth slider. If you want to quickly increase the blur amount, you can play around with the hyperfocal depth distance. Now let's adjust the bokeh. Under blur and quality, you can adjust the bokeh scale and blur width with these 2 options. I personally prefer to keep these on the left to avoid completely blurring the background landscape. You can also change the bokeh highlight and its shape. If you want polygon shapes, drag the slider to the left. If you want clean circles, drag it to the right. Keep in mind that you will have to tweak these settings every time you take a new screenshot with a new angle, different background, and sometimes even different fashion. Amazing! You finally have your background blur set up. Now let's work on making your screenshot more lively by using color correction. The quickest way to get your color correction done is by using the effects called Vibrance, Tint, Technicolor, and Clarity. These are very straightforward and easy to edit. To add more contrast to your screenshot, try toggling Lightroom, HDR, and PPFX SSDO. Lightroom is a very complex effect and you can do many things with it, from increasing contrast to adding vignette and individually adjusting colors. There is no silver bullet for this one. The best you can do is slightly tweak the sliders. It's best if you don't move them too far off center though. Overall color correction is extremely dependent on the weather, sun, landscape, and the general vibe of the screenshot you want to take. Tweaking your color correction layers to slightly match your clothes or hair color can also be a smart move. Your fashion gives a certain vibe by default, so it is in your best interest to match the colors with it. Adding shadows is something you want to do with caution, as getting used to adding too much can completely ruin your screenshot. Let me illustrate what I mean by this. First, to add more shadows and depth, turn on the effect called MXO. I've seen quite a few screenshots that overwhelmingly use this effect. If you max out sample radius, ambient occlusion amount, and fine AO, you will see it creates this extremely ugly black pixelated effect in the hair of your character. It is even more pronounced if your hair color is bright. While having a lot of shadow on clothes looks great, it's not worth it considering the impact it has on the hair. If you face this issue with your screenshots, I recommend you significantly reduce the 3 parameters I mentioned just now. To spice things up, let's now add bloom effects. There are many bloom effects you can choose from. Some of them are Pirate Bloom, Blooming HDR, Bloom, and Magic Bloom. These shaders add a sly bloom to your screenshot. You can adjust them by tweaking the bloom intensity if it's not to your likings. And finally, to make your masterpiece clearer and more eye-catching, here are a few effects you should consider. In your game settings, first make sure you have DLSS, FSR, and blur turned off. You can also set your anti-aliasing to TAA, FXAA, or both. I personally prefer TAA. Now back in G-Shade, turn on the Adaptive Sharpen and/or Luma Sharpen effects. The default settings are pretty good, but you can always adjust the strength. With that out of the way, one last thing I want to cover is levels. If you think your screenshot is still too bright or dark, this effect allows you to make the whites darker and blacks brighter and vice versa. It's fully adjustable, but the default settings do a great job as well and add some extra depth to the image. Congratulations! You've now created your very own preset. Now you can navigate to the Settings tab in G-Shade and change the screenshot shortcut key. Alternatively, if you're fine with the default one, just press it to save your masterpiece. Phew, that was quite a lot to cover. I hope it was clear enough and that you enjoyed the video. In the next video from this series, I'll be covering positioning, upscaling, and post-editing. Please leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out. And as always, if you have any question, leave them in the comments section. I'll gladly respond. Thank you for watching and see you next time.